Good morning. This is my artist management internship. A little introduction about me. My name is Caitlin Florio, and I'm a senior. I will be taking a gap year and focusing on my career towards working in the music industry. I'm a part of the Jonathan Law Choir. I'm one of the public relations for Kietz, and I'm also a part of the National Arts Honor Society. And as you can see in this little photo of me, music has always just been a part of my life. About my internship, so this is my site supervisor. His name is Miles Nalasa, who goes by his stage name Makana Red.
Oh my god.
My internship site was done remotely, and it was based in Los Angeles, California. Miles is an artist, producer, and a multi-instrumentalist, and he also teaches students at a music school, and he's also done music for majority of his life. I chose this site because about a year ago I actually saw Miles perform in person as part of an opening act in a concert I went to by the name Jaden Hostler. And I thought he was the perfect person to reach out to. And when I saw him, I just saw his stage presence, and I really got inspired by him, and we always kept in touch here and there. And the business of the site is to help promote an up-and-coming artist. Prior to my internship, I really didn't know what to expect since it was remotely and not being able to be there in person. It was kind of hard, what to know what I was gonna do besides promoting. My responsibilities were to research TikTok trends and create video ideas. That was his main priority for me to do, since he really wants to expand on there and grow his music on there, and it's a really good idea for musicians to put themselves out on that app. Pitching a Spotify playlist, press, and blog. So as you can see, there's a website called Playlist Supply, and he would have me log into his account, and you put in a keyword, and it would essentially bring up a bunch of people's playlists and their contact information, and then I would add it into a spreadsheet and then put if I reached out to them or not via email. Finding other upcoming artists, I would do this on TikTok as well by just putting a keyword, independent artist or upcoming artist. Finding local venue contacts, I would research them in his area, Los Angeles, and the furthest was Orange County. Weekly video calls, we did that to catch up, and also if I had any questions or if he needed me to do anything else for him. And study the music industry. I would read a book that I'll get to in the next slide. I would listen to podcasts and watch documentaries that he recommended to me and take notes as I went. Accomplishments, I researched and learned about the music industry. I created video ideas, and he even used some of them to post on his TikTok account, which was pretty cool. I completed a total of 150 hours, and I got to work at a comfortable place. Like I said, since it was remote, I really got to use my time wisely and also practice time management skills. The challenges I would have to say is pitching via email, because a lot of people don't respond due to the subjects. You have to have an eye-catching subject in order for them to really respond, and you're trying to get his music on someone's playlist, so it's really kind of difficult to come up with those. And overall, not being able to be there physically to see behind the scenes, because since it was remote, he told me if I was there that I would see behind the scenes of music videos or photo shoots, and even producing. So that's one of my goals, is to go there one day to see it all happen. This is a little insight about the book I read. For my daily study of the music business, I got introduced into reading the book All You Need to Know About the Music Business by Donald Passman. This book has taught me so much in such a short amount of time, and I was really grateful I got recommended this by my site supervisor, because it talks about all things music related and a lot of things I didn't know prior to reading this book, and I had no idea it existed until I did this internship. It talked a lot about finances, finding your team, negotiating, responsibilities, music laws, and so much more. And I even highlighted points along the way so that way I could go back and look at them when needed. These are some insights to my days. So since I got to manage my time on my own, this is a picture of me reading the book at the beach, which is a really nice way to get my work done. This is me and Miles. This is how we would do our weekly calls. We did it through Instagram. So this is our picture of us. Um, that is a picture of my notes. That's what they would look like when I was watching like documentaries. I'm pretty sure that one was about Clive Davis. And then that's a picture of what my spreadsheets would look like for like pitching the Spotify playlist. So you would put the Spotify playlist name, the link, some artists that are in there, and their contact information, and if we reached out to them or not. Skills developed, like I said, time management was key. Communication skills was a big one for me because I'm more of an introverted person, and being able to reach out to someone who's an up-and-coming artist and reaching out to other people that I had to do was a really big goal, so I'm proud of that. And researching skills, a lot of the things I didn't know about, such as like the eye-catching subjects, so that really helped me a lot. And it helped me to gain experience and an interest that will help me in the future of my desired career. And was I offered a summer job? Yes. I was offered to continue helping Miles and also start getting paid once he built his team. So he said more towards the ending of the year is when he's really gonna do it, and that made me really happy, and I'm really like honored because of it. And I really thank him a lot for everything I learned. This I just wanted to put out. This is Makina Red, and these are his socials and where you could listen to his music, and you can even scan the code if you want to check it out. That would be really appreciated. And thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Congratulations on your job offer.
Thank
That
you.
is fantastic. Very exciting news. But you mentioned you're taking a gap year. Is the plan to maybe do some travel and do some like networking out in other areas that are maybe more of like a like a hot music scene of the Connecticut?
Yes, I really hope so, because he even said like if I were to go to LA, like he would show me everything, and now that I have a connection, like that would be really cool to do. So I really hope to, yeah. Yes, Danielle.
What do you believe was like your favorite part of the day during the internship? Like, what was your favorite thing to do?
I would say the music business study, because I got to not only like read the book but also watch documentaries and podcasts, and even though it seems simple, like I really learned a lot, and I wouldn't have known anything that I learned about if it weren't for this experience. I would say that. Yeah, it's
Wait, is the guy famous?
He's getting there. He opens for an artist. Her name is Sarah. Well, he worked with her. He does guitar, like he's a guitarist for her, and they were the opener for Jaden Hostler. But yeah, I just always kept in touch with him, and he's just such a sweet guy, and I really see him going far. I really do. Yeah. Any other questions?
I guess I know you kind of mentioned, but when you learned about like the social media aspect, like the TikTok, I find this fascinating.
Yeah.
I found myself like my old grandmother was like, I don't understand any of this, but like TikTok I know is so interesting. So were you able to learn like the back end, like the algorithm part, and like what to kind of like include to make it like hit more or something?
Yeah. So he wanted to do like every Monday, like I come up with a schedule like for the week for him to post, and that's what he would do. He would post like maybe 2 to 3 a week, and like use like different hashtags, or even like he would just promote his music or do like covers and stuff. And I think it's really like the timing, like you post and everything. Yeah.
Did any of them like go viral or like catch more than others? Or one that you were particularly proud of?
I'm really proud of some of his covers that he does, because he's just a really good guitarist, and it's really cool to see other people like comment and like find out about him. And also one video he posted promoting his song, and I saw people saying, oh, I'm going to add this to my playlist and everything. That made me really proud for him. Happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Nice job, Caitlin.
Thank you.
So I did my internship at a chiropractic office. So about my internship site, my site supervisor is Dr. Jason Jenkins. He's here with us today. My location was at Jenkins Family Chiropractic. It's on 97 Gulf Street, so it's right by St. Mary's. It's like past the downtown area. Dr. Jenkins has a receptionist in the office. Her name is Darlene, and he also has an office dog named Romo. So this is some of the images from my site. The first picture right here is the office, or the desk that Darlene sits at. I was there a couple times when Darlene wasn't able to come in. The middle picture is the adjustment tables. It's in the open, so as soon as you go in, it's in the open. So it gives a warm feeling, and if people are nervous, like they can see it prior to getting adjusted. And the one on the right, that one is ChiroTouch. That is our online where patients' charting goes in. So we use that. Dr. Jenkins uses that after every adjustment, and Darlene's also able to open it on her screen to check patients in and out and like schedule appointments. So about me, my name is Maddie Ritchie. After high school, I'm going into the Navy. I'm a part of Jonathan Law's choir, and I'm soon to be certified nursing assistant from the CNA class at Law. So my site experience, so why did I choose this? So the site gave me a different view of the healthcare field. I always saw myself being in a hospital, and because of HIPAA laws and just it's hard to get into a hospital when you're under 18, it was hard to do that, and this experience gave me what it was like to see running your own business. It's a smaller business, so I got to see many aspects, not just the adjustments, but also the finances. I got to see how like insurance works and stuff like that. The business is a chiropractic office. So my expectations versus reality. So my expectations before coming into it, I was thinking it was a slower pace. It's a small office. Dr. Jenkins is the only doctor there, so I was like, it's gonna be a little slower. I wouldn't be able to be hands-on, again, HIPAA laws and stuff like that. I wouldn't be able to sit in on consultations. I thought this because patients might feel uncomfortable seeing a high school student sitting in, and also HIPAA laws. I didn't know how they would feel about that, and I wouldn't be able to see x-rays. But the reality of it, it was actually fast-paced. Sometimes we would see up to 50 patients per shift, and that's what Dr. Jenkins is expected to see. He wants that. He wants the fast pace. And with patients' permissions, I was actually able to feel some of the vertebrae. I was also able to check leg lengths, again, with their permission. And I sat in on most consultations and even took notes on them. Some of the patients even told me they'd rather have me sit in and because this is how I would learn. In the beginning of it, I would just sit in the corner, but then Dr. Jenkins got comfortable with me and I got more confident, so I was able to take notes. And it also helped Darlene because she was able to see my handwriting better than his. I also saw many x-rays and MRIs. We'd see them weekly, so it was good to see that aspect. So my responsibilities, I would be checking patients in and out through ChiroTouch, setting up appointments with patients, answering the phones. I would also be charging patients for their visits. So sometimes patients would have cards on file, or sometimes they would give you new cards, so I was able to charge them that way. Sometimes they also have a monthly payment that gets taken out, so we would do that as well. Like I said, I would take notes during evaluations and consultations, bringing patients back to the exam room if they had like evaluation, progress report, anything like that. Doing opening and closing duties. I would shadow Dr. Jenkins by evaluating and measuring x-rays and MRIs. I would sit in on patient exam and patient adjustments. I would also shadow Darlene by setting up appointments with diagnostic imaging. This helps the patient because they don't have to go out of their way to make the appointments. We would do it for them based off of their schedule. Entering new patients into the system, checking insurance benefits. Again, this helps patients knowing before coming in what their benefits are like. Some are better than others, and it's good to have an understanding before they went in. Uploading insurance billing and checking in with attorneys for PI, which is personal injury cases. Darlene kept a very good eye on this stuff, especially because if it's been a while and they haven't reached out to you, she's going to reach out because they want to get paid. And it's good to keep on top of it because you never know what the status of the case might be. So accomplishments, I improved my patient contact. I was nervous at first, like talking to patients, but once I got more comfortable with them and they got more comfortable with me, they would actually like ask me questions and have me open up. I learned more about the anatomy of the spine through x-rays and MRIs. I didn't know like a lot. I just knew like what an x-ray is. I didn't know there's specific small little details and measurements that can really drastically change the anatomy of your spine. I learned about the central nervous system through x-rays and talking with patients. Sometimes patients would come in and be like, I have pain in my shoulder and now my fingers are numb. Well, you can lead that back up to in the neck, C1, C2, and we can make an adjustment there. And some patients over time would say, I have improvement with that. I don't have that anymore. I learned how to read x-rays and take measurements. I gained knowledge from both doctor and patient perspective. At the end of my internship, Dr. Jenkins actually had me go through the patient evaluation and went over my spine and how it is. And with my dad's permission, he was able to adjust me, so it was good to see like what the patient is feeling. It felt good, by the way. I gained an understanding of how insurance company works and how they work with smaller companies. Again, making sure like checking the benefits that a patient has. Sometimes patients might only have like 10 visits covered per year, so it's good that Dr. Jenkins will work with them to like figure it out with them and be able to set up a plan of payment, because at the end of the day, Dr. Jenkins just wants to help them the best that he can. He wants them to keep coming. He wants to just make sure their spine is okay. So with talking to them, it was able to figure out like a financial plan and stuff like that. I learned about different spinal curvatures. I was also able to feel some of the patient's vertebrae. One of the patients I actually felt, we noticed that her leg length was a little short on one side, and feeling C1 and C2, I was able to see how the vertebrae was shifted to one side, and we were able to do that adjustment to correct them. I was also seeing how Dr. Jenkins has to be many different people. He told me one time he has to wear many different hats. He has to be the doctor, but also the office manager, inventory manager, human resourcing, marketing, etc. He did have multiple people in the office at one point, but it was just too much. And also it's good sometimes to have control on like your business in case it gets out of control. So the two images, actually the image on the left and the middle, those are actually in his office. The spinal decay, so we use this reference a lot with patients when we show them their x-rays. Sometimes patients would come in with like let me back up. Your neck is supposed to have a banana curve. Some patients would come in with a straight neck, and we would show them the phase that it would go through. So it would go through like this phase. And we would show them where they're at, as well as mid-back and lower back. Again, the spinal nerves, it can show where, if pain is coming in your leg, it roots back to where it is in the spine. As well, like I said, the straight neck versus a banana shape. Some of the challenges / problems, I had a fear of messing up. I always thought, like, especially charging patients, I thought I was going to mess up, making appointments, anything like patient charting. It was already like, Darlene had her hands on it and I was new. I was like playing around with it. I didn't want to mess anything up. I didn't know how to fax or scan documents, so Darlene was able to help me with that. I was nervous about answering phone calls, especially because most of the patients will call and think it's Darlene, and they'll just go and ask me a question, and I'm like, I'm new, I'm sorry, let me get the doctor for you. I also had to get comfortable introducing myself to patients. Many of the patients would be like, hi, who are you? Like, why are you following Dr. Jenkins around? And Dr. Jenkins would actually have me introduce myself. At first, I'd rather him introduce me, but we got comfortable. So many of the patients were actually okay with me just watching them, stuff like that. So in conclusion, I developed time management. So the office schedule is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. He's open 9:30 to 12:30 and then 3 to 6. So definitely having a little bit of a break in between helped, but also I had to manage my time as the best I can. And then Tuesdays, it's open 3 to 7, and then on Fridays, it's open 9 to 12. So again, working around my outside commitments. Communication, talking to Dr. Jenkins inside the office, I had to get comfortable with it at first. Talking to patients in the office and on the phone, again, having to get comfortable with that. And towards the end, I did find myself comfortable with it. And also talking to Darlene about things I was confused about. I'm not one to just tell people if I'm confused. I kind of just try to figure it out. But I wanted to make sure I was getting the best out of my internship, so I was asking questions. Technology. I'm not a technology person. I rather do pen and paper, and all the charting is online. So I had to get used to that. I got used to the X-ray and MRI viewing technology, handling patient charting electronically, faxing and scanning patient information, and learning about ChiroTouch, P-Trace, and Availity. Availity is what we use to check insurance benefits, and P-Trace is how we charged patients. Conclusion, how it impacted on my future. It gave me an experience in a smaller office. It offered an insight on how to help people without using medicine. Many patients would come and have discomfort and be like, should I take Advil? Should I take aspirin? And Dr. Jenkins always said, I'm not going to prescribe you medicine. I'm not licensed that way. What I can say is through this adjustment, your spine is going to be in a better position and your body will adapt to it and hopefully improve those symptoms that you're having. Some patients would come in with allergies or digestion issues, and after the adjustment, a couple weeks later, they notice that they don't have that anymore. It allowed me to get a different insight on multiple parts of a business. It showed that I do want to be in a fast-paced environment. I do like constantly going. And it provided me with a different experience than my future peers. So what I meant by this was they might have just been in a medical facility. They didn't see any insurance. They didn't see any finances, anything like that. I have the upper hand because now I did see that. Sometimes if you're in a larger company, you're not worried about that. That's not the first thing on your mind. You have other people to take care of that. What's next for me? Like I said, I enlisted in the Navy in January. I ship out June 27th, but I actually leave Connecticut the 26th. I got accepted into the HM, which is Hospital Corpsman program, so I could pursue my nursing career. Boot camp is in Chicago at Great Lakes for 10 weeks, and my A school is in San Antonio, Texas for 20 weeks, and I'm possibly doing medevac with the Marines, so. Any questions? Caitlin?
Would it get overwhelming with the amount of patients that sometimes would come in?
It wouldn't get overwhelming. There was one point where we had a bunch of people, bunch of kids as well with Romo, so it was a little chaotic, but adjustments only take about 30 seconds to a minute, so it goes by quick. It goes by, you just get in and out, so it went by quick. Any other questions?
So obviously, this wasn't exactly like a nursing
Right.
track, but do you feel like you were talking about that, obviously you saw this side of a small business, right, and that's going to be helpful in the future, but was there anything other specific things that you learned that you feel are going to be helpful, either confirming, because you were part of CNA too,
Yep.
right, so anything that helped confirm your nursing knowledge?
Yeah, so when we were talking about the spine, different curvatures and stuff like that, I remember we did talk about it in CNA. We did have a whole lesson on the spine. We also had a whole lesson on the nervous system. So incorporating that back into when we were in our internship, it was good to be oh, I learned that. Oh, I know that as well. So it was good to be able to remember that stuff.
I'm failing to come up with a question. I just keep thinking that the route you're taking to nursing is so interesting, and I think that the chiropractic background is actually going to be really beneficial for thinking about even sleeping in really crappy beds in the Navy. Background now, we're talking about the length of each leg, right, and the spine being slightly off. Or I just think that it's going to blend so nicely to your future goals, and I'm really happy you had the opportunity. And it sounds like it was really great. So
It was really
come
great.
up with a question, but I really think that it's a nice segue into your future because it's a very cool route to nursing.
Yes.
No real questions, just a couple of comments.
Great.
When Maddie first started in the office, she was a little on the quiet side. She told me that she is naturally a little more introverted, which I did not see with that after the first week. Yes, I made her introduce herself after the first week. I introduced her to everybody the first week. And afterward, I just started telling her, you can start telling people who you are, ask the patient if it's okay for you to come into the exam room with them. And she owned it. I mean, as soon as she started to get comfortable with it, she owned it. So I don't think she's shy and introverted. It just took her a minute or two to start to develop an ownership of what her role would be. And by the end of the internship there, yes, I'd be on one patient, she'd be at the table next to, and I'd say, assess them and tell me what they need. And I would go and double check to make sure that she was correct, but I don't think there was a point that she hadn't determined what adjustment the patient should have. And I say that's definitely a testament to her because of her ability to kind of assess, pay attention. And the last thing is when we were in consultation with patients, typically one of the things that I tried to talk with her about in nursing is you have your location, onset, pain, palliative, radiation, your typical questions like that. What we try to do in our office is get to the root of why the patient is there, and it's never because they're in pain, it's because some aspect of their life is missing based on the syndrome or the pain that they're having. And what we want to get them to see is that that's where we want to get them back to. And by the end of that, I really think that is something that Maddie will take with her moving forward, that it's not just about discussing the pain or problem that the patient have, it's being able to empathize why that problem is affecting them. And that's something that I think she really came away with.
Sounds very impressive.
Yeah.
You really caught on and obviously made a wonderful impression. So congratulations on all your hard work.
Thank you. So I'm Danielle Freitas. So my internship site was in a pediatric doctor's office in Fairfield, Connecticut. It's next to like 16 Handles and Sinclair's, if you know around that area. And the name of my site supervisor is Dr. Diaz. This is her. And she is the owner of Global Pediatrics, which is the name of where I interned at. And she has 3 medical assistants named Rachel, Danielle, and Angie, and they all helped me out. And at Global Pediatrics, they communicate with patients in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. And I believe that she taught me a lot to help with nursing and to continue, and no matter how hard it gets, to continue that passion, because nursing is in big need right now, especially after the COVID pandemic. So I'm a senior at Jonathan Law. I will be attending Southern Connecticut State University and majoring in the direct admission nursing program. I am an honors student. I am a soon-to-be certified nursing assistant from CNA class here at Law. I am one of the public relations for Kietz, and I'm also in the choir. So my day-to-day. So I would enter from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. from Monday to Thursday. And when I would get there, I would sign in at this with this paper that she had to sign in my time. And then I would check the schedule on the computer of what our day was from day to day. So the schedule consists of the patient's names, and then it would have a certain color. So pink was sick visits and green was checkups, which was good to know what was following into the day and what types of visits I would see. And from there on, I would follow Dr. Diaz, or one of the medical assistants, in each room to observe each visit and complete the task that I was asked to, with the patient's permission, of course. And I would also help clean the room after each visit by changing the paper foil on the examination table, tidying up the books that the children would take out of the bin, and also I would hand them their goodie bags on their way out. And I would also clean the stethoscope after every use, because we would use them on every patient. and so to prevent germs from spreading. So I thought at first I would be put on more hands-on tasks, which I was very nervous about, but once I told my site supervisor that I was nervous, she said, let's have you observe at first, and then little by little I'll introduce you to the certain tasks that you'll have to do, and I'll always be there or one of the medical assistants to like watch you. And that helped me a lot because I believe it helped me easily grow into it. So, and I thought that the patients would be kind of nervous to have a student perform certain tasks that I was told to on them, but thankfully with all their permission, they were very supportive and patient with me and like try to communicate with me and see what my plans were for the future. And I thought that I would also be answering phone calls and making appointments, which is kind of nerve-wracking because I'm new, so I would basically not know the answers to many things, and also I know that sometimes parents or guardians, they call and they just want to like say what they need and then like leave the call, but with me I would have to like ask more questions because I wasn't sure. But thankfully I was working more with just patients. So I learned certain skills that have helped me grow, like communication, like communicating with patients, responsibility, and time management. So I would have to track my time, like what time I would have to leave home to get to the internship site at time and not be late, and keep track of like when was my leaving time and everything. And I also learned how to do certain tasks and medical tools and tests, which I will get further in depth about. And I learned how to communicate with the patient guardians. You have to be like very patient sometimes with them and explain what's happening. And I learned a lot of common symptoms for most illnesses and what to expect from each of those visits. And when there were not many patients, Dr. Raquel would give me reading tasks to skim through books and read more about what I was seeing. There was one point where I read American Academy of Pediatrics books, and she highlighted the part of strep because we were seeing a lot of strep visits. So I just got further in depth about what was strep and like the different symptoms. So I actually gave a hemoglobin test. At first, the medical assistant was like, are you okay with doing this and everything? I was like very nervous because I know on the other side I hate finger pricks. So I was like, I'm not sure how I would feel doing it on another person. But I also wanted to push myself, and like I know I would be happy if I did it. So I ended up doing it, which was comfortable because the medical assistant was by my side, if anything. So what I had to do was you would set up a tray, and then the tray would have the Band-Aid, the gauze, it would have cleaning wipes, and the small disc that we would need, and the hemoglobin prick. So I would clean the patient's hand in the middle finger because apparently that's where more blood comes out when you squeeze. And then I would dry it and then do the prick. And then you have to be very quick because blood starts coming out like fast. So I would have to get the tube real quick and like so I could get the blood collected. And I would have to just dry the patient's hand after and put the Band-Aid on. So yeah, and then it's very easy. So what you do with that disc, you put it in this little test reader here that I have a picture of, and it will tell you the iron level like really quick. So a good level of iron is 12 or higher, and anything lower than 11 is considered not good or anemic. And also, I was shocked to learn this. So it's basically the same test, but instead of the small disc, it's a small tube. And babies ages 1 and 2 get tested for lead, and anything higher than 3.5 has to be announced to the state. And this is because in the 1950s, a lot of lead was around the houses and the walls, and babies normally they crawl a lot, so they would put it in their mouth and chemicals from the lead, which I was surprised because I never heard anything about that. I also learned a lot of other things, like I learned about this rare gene mutation disease called CAM-Kai, and it's an extremely rare disease, and early symptoms of this syndrome is seizures, but each set of symptoms in patients is different. And I never heard about this, so I thought it was interesting because apparently it is really rare. Like there's only a couple in US and a couple in Europe and Canada. And I also learned that there was this patient that came, she kind of looked like this. This is just a picture online, but she had a bunch of like little red dots around her face. And apparently I learned that those are mini hemorrhages, and I didn't know that. And apparently it happens when they force something too much, so like if they're forcing to vomit or anything.
But I learned that it's not dangerous and leaves after a day or two, which I got worried at first when she said mini hemorrhages. So I was like, that's scary, but it was fine. And also, babies are given shots on their thighs while patients who are older are given shots on their arms because it is easier to give shots where there's more muscle and it will cause less of a reaction. And also, I thought it was curious to learn that this position that babies do a lot, I didn't know there was a certain name for it. And then Dr. Raquel was like, the name of this position is the commando position. So we lay a lot of the babies when we're doing checkups on them to check their lungs in this commando position. I learned a lot of different lung sounds from wheezing to crackles. A lot of them can mean like early signs of bronchitis, pneumonia, or just like a congestion. And I learned how to check and measure blood pressure and hearing and the patient's temperature. So anything 120 to 80 or lower is normal for blood pressure in the patients. And we use the scoliometer and otoscope. So anything between 5 to 10 on the scoliometer is normal. So it's basically that spinal test that you do like at the nurse's office and everything. And I also checked patients' height and weight on the scale. And I would measure babies' heads, which at first I didn't know this when I observed that one of the medical assistants was doing this. So basically, I asked Dr. Raquel, and she said it's to make sure that the baby is centered and that the head is not out of place, and to check if the baby's brain is growing or not, because if it's not, then you have to keep track, because this could be early signs of microcephaly. And we also, at ages 18 or 24-month-old visits, there's a paper with 20 yes or no questions about the baby that the parents have to circle, and it determines any early signs of autism and how to handle it from there. And I also use the Taylor hammer, which at first I was kind of nervous because I know that it's like you check the reflex really fast, and then I didn't know how to use it. I thought maybe the patients would just fake their reflexes on me or something, but they didn't, and it was actually very easy going. And so I also learned a lot of symptoms. So most of the visits we saw was a lot of allergy visits, eczema, strep, and a lot of broken bone visits because as the summer is coming, more patients, like they're outside on the bikes, and then they end up breaking their bones more. And I also learned about like sudden infant death syndrome. So a lot of this happens if the baby's laying on their back for a good amount of time. So I chose this site because I want to be a pediatric nurse in the future, and I believe that this was a perfect place to intern at because it's a pediatric office. And also they speak Portuguese, which I speak Portuguese too, so it would be cool to see like the different experiences and how to communicate with patients in different languages and everything, and practice more on my Portuguese and patient skills, which is good to know more than one language. And it has a comfortable setting because this is a doctor's office I continue to go to, so it's cool to see what happens behind the scenes. And it's not just all like easy, there's like hard parts too, and there's like pacing, fast pace. So this impacted me because I still want to be a pediatric nurse in the future. With this internship and CNA class, I believe I learned a lot more about the medical field. I was able to grow more in skills and learn more about how to do certain tasks that I would have only learned in college if I did not do this internship. And I was able to grow as a person also by becoming more comfortable with speaking up and saying my thoughts and asking questions, because normally I'm more of an introvert, but with this I believe I was able to speak up more because I said I have to get the best out of my internship or else I won't learn much if I don't ask the questions that I have at the moment. And yeah, any questions? Danae?
Did you have to like speak Portuguese to anyone?
I did have to speak Portuguese because a majority of the patients she has, they're Portuguese and Spanish speaking. So I would just reply to them in Portuguese and tell them like my parents are Brazilian, I speak Portuguese. So it was interesting, yeah. Maddie?
If you had to choose one thing from your whole internship, what was your favorite part?
Oh, I believe it was like talking to the kids and like seeing how they were like so nice to me and everything, and like I thought they would at first be like, oh, I don't want this interesting, like this weird person in the room or something, like I don't know who this person is, but they were all like trying to communicate with me and like ask me how my day was and everything. Yeah. Caitlin?
Do you have a memorable moment with a patient?
I believe so. I believe that my favorite memory with a patient would be one where it was like at the very beginning I was still learning like where to check for lung sounds on the stethoscope, and then where the doctor would tell me to put it, I couldn't really see much, so the patient, she would actually like point to where I had to put the stethoscope in, which was nice because I thought she was like helping me out. And
After you took the hemoglobin the first time, did you do it again, or was it like one time for your whole?
it was one time for my whole experience because there wasn't more other visits for me to do the hemoglobin, but I believe it was like very interesting. I'm glad I did it and pushed myself.
I was really thinking like there has to be a first for everything, you know,
Yeah.
like so have you ever had to give anyone a shot?
No,
And I
not
only
shot.
asked because I recently had to like get a shot, and my neighbor who is retired from the VA as a nurse came over to do it. And I was like, I'm really nervous. Are you sure you've done this before? She's like, Kelsey, I've done this she's like thousands of times. And so when you shared it was the first time, I was thinking like there's always a first and there's always a last. So
I know.
That's so cool. I'm
Yeah.
glad you got that experience.
Yeah, and it's good because then when I go into nursing school and everything, they'll be like, oh, I already did this, so I'm
Right.
more
It's not
comfortable.
like this. Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah,
Love it. And do you want to work with kids? Like, do you
I
think you'll
do.
stay that pediatric route?
I really do, yeah. I like working with kids.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great job.
Okay, so this is my internship at Testo's Family Farm. So about me, my name is Danae Billups, and I will be attending the University of Connecticut in the fall, and I will be majoring in biology, and that is a picture of me in choir for my last concert, and me in my Yukon hoodie. So I intern at Testo's Family Farm, and it's located in Milford, Connecticut. A lot of people always ask me where it is. It's by Eisenhower Park, but it's in like the hill, mountainy area. So it's in like the back of Eisenhower Park, but it's easy to find. So my site supervisor was Danielle Sanzermano, and she has been riding horses for her whole life, but she got into a horse accident like 2 years ago, she said, where when she was riding, she fell off and the horse stepped on her face. And she's been dealing with dental surgeries, and that's not funny. And her jaw was like messed up and fractured, so she really hasn't been there a lot. But she was there a few times, and she says that she can't wait to start riding again because she really misses it. So I chose Testo's Family Farm because my advisory teacher, Slawless, told me about it. And it was my last option because I couldn't find any vet hospitals. I contacted everyone in Milford and mostly Stratford and Orange and West Haven, and I couldn't find any. So that's the reason why. I did like it though, so that's a good thing. The business of my site is a farm, so it holds different animals like horses, cats and kittens, donkeys, ducks, chickens, pigs, alpacas, bunnies, and goats. And the first thing I was told when I saw the alpaca was it doesn't spit on you. Like they're like our alpacas don't spit, and I was like, okay, that's fine. So this is the boy alpaca, and that's my boy Tucker. He's a pony. He's 2. He's so cute. He's not mean like the other horses. So expectations prior to my internship. I didn't know what to expect when going into my internship, and what I thought it would be doing is just helping care for the horses, because that's what I was told. Like, I was only talked about the horses too, so I didn't know that I was going to be taking care of many other animals like these ones. I was very surprised when there was more than horses on the farm. So this is the goat. He's always in the hay bucket eating. And those are the chickens and roosters. They're never out because they're bad. So one time, this girl let the chickens out by accident, and it took forever to get them back in. So I learned my lesson. My responsibilities as an intern at Testo's Farm was to change the cats and kittens' litter and give them fresh water and food. clean the horses' buckets and fill them up with fresh water, sweep the aisle floors and feed room when they got dirty because there were rats. So they would get in the feed room where like all the bunnies and alpacas' food were, and they would nibble through the bags and get food everywhere. So Danielle told me to sweep up just to help stop the problem. I don't think it did. And cobwebbing the ceiling, so what I would do is get a broom and just cobweb the ceiling in the aisles because it was bad. Made sure that the mini farm animals had water and that they were out of their stalls except for the chickens and roosters. Clean out the muck tubs when they were full of like horse poop and cat litter and dump them in like the waste dumpster. So my accomplishments were being able to properly give care to a horse, knowing what they need, like cold water. I learned they don't like warm water. They like to drink cold water, which is, I mean, kind of understandable. Learning how to change cat litter boxes. Since I don't have cats, I have a dog, and it's much different because you don't have to clean up a box for a dog. Not getting kicked by a horse. I was terrified when walking behind horses because I was scared I was going to get kicked, so I would like speed walk. Learning how to put a lead on a horse and walk them a specific way, so I wish I had one. But the big part would go over their head and past their ears, and the small part would go at their nose, and then you'd clip a leash, like a rope leash on, and you'd hold one part under their head and you'd hold the end, and then you'd walk them. Some of my challenges and problems were not being able to remember what horses were which. I went out in the field and I accidentally grabbed the wrong horse, and he was spinning me around in circles. But I was like, oh no, but I was okay. Being able to dump water buckets when they were too full because they were really heavy, but there were 2 other interns there, so once they started, we worked together with doing the water buckets because they were heavy. When going in some of the horses' stalls, someone would try to pick you up. Like, they would come up behind you and bring their nose, like, and then, like, try to lift you. That happened my first day, actually. Accidentally letting a horse out of the stall and they wander away. I did that once with Tucker, but he's a pony, so he didn't go far. He just walked a little bit. So I grabbed the lead and I put him back on. Skills I developed, learning how to take care of other animals other than dogs. Being able to follow a to-do list and completing it. So every time I would go there would be a whiteboard, and there was this girl, Kaylee, that works there. She would write down the to-do list since Danielle is not there that much because she's getting surgery. Learning how to ride a horse again like I did when I was younger, because I had a long break of not riding horses, and when I went there, I finally was able to. So that's Justin, and that is Jasper. Jasper is the one that actually tried to pick me up and throw me, so I don't go in a stall anymore. Will this internship help me in the future? I think yes and no, and I think it will help me in the future because I was able to take care of many different animals that weren't your typical dog or cat. So because of this, I have more knowledge about those animals and can have more options of what type of vet I would want to be. And I do not think it will help me in the future because I want to become a veterinarian, and there weren't really many skills to help me out. There was a horse vet that did come in, and he was giving them their shots and putting them in their system by taking pictures, but I didn't really get to talk to him that much because I was doing my tasks. That's the pig, and that's the old donkey, Desire. He runs away from me all the time. So my future plans, I wasn't offered a summer job, but I was offered to come back to start riding the horses again. My college major, I'm going to major in biology so that I can become a veterinarian technician. My career choices, I plan on becoming a veterinarian technician after college and vet school. Any questions? Yeah, Maddie.
If you had the opportunity to work with horses, like, as a veterinarian, would you?
I would. I actually would. I've realized that horses, they're like easy. They're not, some of them are bad, but some of them are good. So I definitely would do it because I didn't know that there was just a specific vet for horses, so I learned that there. So it's definitely much easier than working with like a lot of animals like that you would do at a normal vet office. So I would.
Do you have a favorite memory?
I do. I do have a favorite memory. Oh, what was it? I do. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So Tucker, my favorite one. I'll go into his stall like every morning and just sit in there with him, and he'd always like sniff my hair. I feel like he would like try to eat it or something. And then there's another one. I got really close with this one horse, and he would always look for me whenever I come in. His name was Babe, and I would always like go like this at the stall, and then whenever I come, he like moves side to side like that. It's like our own little thing. So that's my other favorite memory.
Which was the easiest animal to work with, and which was the hardest animal to work with?
The easiest one would it's probably the mini farm animals because I only just gave them water and just hung out with them. And then the horses, definitely much more because you would have to like clean their stalls and stuff, and you have to give them a certain amount of hay, and you have to give them water buckets, clean the water buckets. So the horses definitely are a big responsibility other than the mini farm animals.
Do you feel like having exposure, you know, just working with our animals and being around animals, do you feel like that's maybe like dispelled some myths you had about working with animals? Like, does it make you want to work with them more? Did you determine that you didn't want to work with certain types of animals based on just being around them and building like relationships with those animals?
Yeah, I feel like it made me want to work with them more, especially horses now. Horses are cute and they're chill. They're really chill. So I would definitely love to do something with horses, and I probably will be back in the summer. Because there's an intern that interned last year, and she still stops by, so I definitely would